This is the Fifth Estate Winning Headlines, your media police post. In this segment, we summarize some of the headlines that you might have missed this morning. We also take a look at the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country. Today is the 16th of June 2021 and I am Miss K.
I'm Tuam.
And I am JM. In case you missed the headlines this morning, here they are. In the Daily Nation, collapse of the tyranny of numbers. In the Standard, DP Ruto pain over Uhuru NASA plan. And in the Star, massive graft rocked my first term. Uhuru. Shall we begin with you, Tuam?
Oh, absolutely.
Tell us about this whole hullabaloo, this panic on the part of William Ruto.
William Ruto and his tweets. Professor Mutahi Ngonyo always says that when the gods want to destroy a man, they first make him mad.
Yes. And
our hypothesis is Mr. Ruto's recent utterances are a sign that the gods are making him mad. His behavior on Twitter depicts a man who isn't fully in control of his mental state. His rants and language betray his sanity. And if Mr. Ruto's madness is real, the question is, why is Gema following a madman? Before we answer this question, allow us to tell you a story. There was a madman in a small town who played with street children. Once he told them to gather at dusk near a rich landlord's house, as there would be a party with fireworks and sweets for all. On reaching there, the street children found no such thing. They felt cheated, but surprisingly found the madman also standing there expectantly. So they asked him, "Did you not know there would be no celebration here?" The madman replied and said, "Yes, of course. I knew there would be no party, but I thought, supposing there was a party, then why should I miss it?" You see, people, if this story was our current reality, the madman would be Ruto and Kikuyus would be the street children. The street children are all too naive to be invited for a party that does not exist. But more importantly, in their destitute state, they cannot tell the mental state of the madman. They are all too happy following the madman blindly without questioning his sanity. The question to Kikuyus is this: if Mr. Ruto can abuse your Mudhamaki when he's in power, what will he do to you when he gets power? If Mr. Ruto has been accused and charged by the ICC of killing you, what is he likely to do when he's in power? If Mr. Ruto is on record saying that there isn't a group that has more problems with Kikuyu than Kalenjins, and the only way to sort those problems out is to get government?
Mimi nauliza nyinyi, kama mko na shida na Wakikuyu, hamuko na shida na Wakikuyu kuliko sisi wa Kalenjin. Tuko na shida kubwa zaidi. Sawa sawa? Lakini ikifika mahali unatofautisha maneno, unaweka maneno ya tofauti za kijamii kando, unatafuta serikali kwanza, kwa sababu ile serikali itakusaidia kutatua matatizo ulio nayo.
What does he mean when he says that? Could you think?
Now today I would like to talk about the collapse of the Jubilee Party as well. My hypothesis is that the Jubilee Party was the creation and sole initiative of William Ruto. And his thinking back then in 2016 was to force Uhuru Kenyatta's hand for the 2022 election. Some reverse engineering was done by the man from Sugoi. He sat back and asked himself, how can I bypass the gatekeeper, President Kenyatta, to lock in the Gema vote with or without him? And the idea was to merge the two parties, as happened, TNA and URP, and invite other parties as well to get into one big party that we now have today, is Jubilee. And in doing this, the president was made a guest in his own party. But unbeknownst to William Ruto, the game at play from the perspective of the president was to turn the guest into the host. It is known as the usurping of power stratagem. And here is how it plays out. The host, in this case, the man from Sugoi, shows the guest, Uhuru Kenyatta, where to sit at the dining table. He arranges for the food to be served. They partake of the meal together. They drink together. They have dessert. And then tell each other stories by the fireplace. After which, there is a role reversal whereby the guest makes it clear that the host can leave. The guest represents the passive subordinate party. It's all about the Tower of Paradox.
Yeah.
And in this case, Uhuru Kenyatta and the host represents the active superior party. In our case, that is William Ruto. In this case, the host is absolutely flabbergasted. He cannot believe what's just happened. Right? Yeah. That's what's happening with William Ruto today. And that's what we saw on social media yesterday. Yeah. Which is ironic because he's already committed to UDA, and he's said he wants to leave the Jubilee Party altogether.
Very, very interesting turn of affairs there. Today, I'd also like to talk about 2022 and the strategies for that. And today, both the Standard and the Daily Nation are occupied with the 2022 election. One with the DP's woes over NASA and the other with predictions of the collapse of the Gema voting bloc. And all this talk of the coming general election prompted me to apply a little game theory to theorize how the forerunners of the presidency could strategize for 2022. And in the game of becoming president, candidates always have to fight for their seat at the table. And according to a gentleman called Jim Miller in his book Game Theory at Work, How to Use Game Theory to Outthink and Outmaneuver Your Competition, there are 3 winning strategies. And because we know 2022 will be an election like no other, since no candidate will meet the 50% plus 1 threshold, it will be a tight race. Therefore, allow me to break down these 3 strategies in the context of our country. The first strategy is for the candidates to talk strategically about the future. For instance, Ruto could begin making a big deal about how Raila would make an excellent deputy president. Raila, on the other hand, could say that Ruto is young and could do with a break from public office to deal with some charges that he has. Speaking strategically about the future is crafty and clever. It's a clever way for candidates to undermine the opponent's status as a forerunner in the election. Yeah. The second strategy is campaigning for the election is to be the meanest and most cruel candidate in the election. This is because a candidate that is perceived as vindictive is more likely to be rewarded with support. A vindictive candidate may not reward you for your vote, but they might punish you if you don't vote and they win. This strategy is straight out of the Moi cookbook of politics. No comments. Refer to 2M's part of today's show. The final strategy is fighting for the presidency is to poison the prize of winning the presidency by starting to plant seeds that the outcome might be illegitimate. And we've seen this strategy play out in the past. We know who did that. But we all know well that it has yet to work. No matter what strategy the 2022 candidates use, we should know that 2022 is a zero-sum game. And this raises the stakes for this election.
That's right. So we have a 3-part criteria that we use to assess the headlines: topical or speculative, repetitive or groundbreaking, and thoughtful or just plain lazy. I think we have this really strong contender in the Star. Massive graft rocked my first term.
I love it.
Uhuru. And we all know the owner of the graft, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, have you guys had in the last 2 years any Kimura in a row?
Nada. So we toss the Daily Nation in the Standard, and we give our winning headline to the Star. And now on to our final thought. But before we get there, please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. What is our final thought?
And now our final thought, it is inspired by a book entitled Bad Science, Hacks, Quacks, and Uncomfortable Facts by Ben Goldacre.
This week, our theme is human irrationality. In order to lead healthy and productive lives, we all have to make many health-related decisions. But often, when making these decisions, we are confused by countless claims, and most of these claims are contradictory. For instance, have you ever wondered how one day the media can claim that alcohol is bad for you, and the next day they run a story publicizing the benefits of daily consumption of alcohol? Or have you ever wondered how a drug that is pulled off the market for causing heart attacks ever got approved in the first place?
Yes.
The answer to one of these questions, according to the author, is that pharmaceutical companies dress up or cover up the results of studies on their drugs. Why? Because medical trials are expensive and the vast majority of them are done by the drug companies. This means that, of course, the drug companies have a huge influence over what gets researched, how it's researched, and how the results are reported. In today's book, the author addresses some of the most shocking sources of misleading health-related claims and provides scientific and statistical tools that you and I, as readers, can use to understand those claims and come to our own conclusions. The doctor exposes what he calls quack doctors and nutritionists, bogus credentialing programs, and biased scientific studies. The author also takes the media to task for its willingness to report anything and throw facts and proof out the window.
You know, it's crazy to think that it's normal when companies make use of people's ignorance or unwillingness to check the facts, to mislead them with bad science. Now, bad science is used to convince consumers to buy a product, for example, a beauty or nutritional product. Companies know that most people will just accept the results presented because the science is too complicated to understand, that's what most people think. One example of these types of frauds are the detox foot baths called Aqua Detox. That's what he says, those know my words. Supposedly, the bath cleanses your body of toxins, painting the water in brown color. But what actually really happens is that the brown water is produced chemically by the ion from the electrodes when the device is turned on. But a user would think the brown substance is some form of detox. Another crazy example is how the South African government, I think in 1999, was conned by a man who claimed he could treat HIV using multivitamins. A guy called Matthias Rath influenced the South African government to replace anti-HIV drugs and promote his vitamins, which he claimed would reduce the risk of AIDS by 50%. He based his assertion on a distortion of a Harvard study involving 1,000 HIV-infected Tanzanian women. The study, however, only showed that low-cost generic vitamins or a better diet could push back the start of anti-HIV drug regimens in some patients. But he claimed that the vitamins were superior cure and that anti-HIV drugs worsened immune deficiencies. By the time RAF was done, it was estimated that 343,000 deaths could have been prevented if the South African government would have given out these anti-HIV drugs instead of the vitamins. People are mental.
Now, I'll talk about placebos. The strange thing about placebos is that they illuminate the way we heal ourselves. Placebos, the author tells us, are a medicine or procedure prescribed for the psychological benefit to the patient rather than for any physiological effect. No one understands why a placebo, which is a pill containing only sugar and a bit of color, can be used to treat a large range of conditions, such as tooth pain and angina, the condition marked by severe pain in the chest, often also spreading to the shoulders, arms, and neck, owing to an inadequate blood supply to the heart. But somehow, these placebos work. In part, it is the theater of placebos that is crucial to the ability to help our bodies to heal.
Yeah.
For instance, details such as packaging, price, and color all affect our expectations, and thus also the outcome of the treatment itself. Studies have shown, for example, that a dose of 4 placebo pills performs better than 2, and an injection performs better than a pill. Furthermore, the author tells us in this book, pink placebo pills can make you feel motivated, while blue ones relax you. In another study, one of the treatment of narrowed arteries, as you know, something that looked a bit sciencey, a sciencey-looking laser catheter that administered no actual treatment, was said to be almost as effective as the real treatment. The secret to placebo treatments is that the patient feels like they are being treated, and that's all it actually takes to affect results. And because of this phenomenon, real treatments can be compared against placebos to determine their efficacy. So, for example, many believe that homeopathy treatments, which are basically just water, they believe that those work because they seem to have cured, illnesses.
Yeah.
Yet, when we compare them to placebos in blind randomized trials, they work no better than the placebo itself.
Whoa.
And in the end, what the author tells us in the book regarding placebos is that people actually, dispense, or doctors actually dispense placebos to patients who complain that they are in pain. And so they did a study and found out, for example, at some point in the 1980s, a good number of patients who were suffering from back pain, ended up being given placebo pills. They said they felt a bit better, but eventually they ended up suffering with
worse.
With that condition for a prolonged period of time.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's hypochondriacs that would benefit from placebos. As long as you think I'm treating you, you can go away with your fake illness. But also randomly, I feel like your final thoughts speak to each other. In South Africa, they quoted the number of people who died because they didn't get HIV drugs, but how about the number of people who thought they were getting healed?
That's crazy.
Anyway, human irrationality.
Human irrationality, absolutely. I'd like to end with a quote, but really touching on the winning headlines. And this is saying about laying traps. There's always free cheese in a mousetrap. That's from the man from Sugoi. Right. We had a winning headline from the Star. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're also on your TV screens. Don't forget to tune in as well. Have a good evening.